What's up, fellas? This is Mike on Post Patrol, and today's post is something that can have catastrophic consequences on future generations, and that's why I am a little passionate about this. You guys are gonna maybe see me get a little, enraged, maybe a little bit, okay? Because I grew up on the internet of the Wild West when it was first starting up, and now I find myself in this jailed environment of constant regulation of speech, people being banned all the time from these social platforms for any and all reasons that anyone complains for. We are living in a society now where victim mentality and this complex of victimhood basically determines the outcome of everything we do. The bigger the victim you are, the more valid your point is. Apparently, that's where we're at right now. And this brings us to Section 230. There's a Supreme Court case happening as we speak. Let's go ahead and jump into this video, and then I'll get back to you.
It's the latest pushback against big tech, a Supreme Court case that could transform social media. The justice is now deciding if companies can be sued for personalizing what you see online.
Hopefully this will change the internet.
The family of Noemi Gonzalez argues YouTube is liable for the death of their 23-year-old daughter, killed in 2015 when ISIS terrorists attacked a bistro in Paris. Her family saying YouTube has not only allowed ISIS to post hundreds of videos on the site, but steers would-be terrorists to more radicalizing content right here under Up Next, using sophisticated algorithms that predict what people want to watch based on what they viewed in the past. But in arguments today, justices seemed skeptical that the tech giant should be on the hook for a central feature of how the internet now works.
I don't know where you're drawing the line. That's the problem.
At the heart of the dispute, a federal law known as Section 230, which shields websites from lawsuits over what people post online. Several justices suggested changes in the law are best left up to Congress.
We're a court. We really don't know about these things. These are not like the 9 greatest experts on the internet.
Tomorrow, the court will hear another case about tech liability, that one against Twitter. Decisions in both cases are expected in June.
Okay, so really quick, let me get through this so we can move forward. The Up Next tab on YouTube isn't designed to help radicalize would-be terrorists, okay? That's absolute absurdity. That is designed to get people to see videos that they would most likely be interested in. It's an algorithm that benefits everyone who uses YouTube. As a result of that, do you sometimes get people that end up seeing things that help radicalize them? Yeah, of course you do. I mean, that's just what happens. As a result of heart surgery, do sometimes accidents end up killing people? Yeah. It happens, but how many people are saved? So you have to weigh out the cost benefit of everything you do. Trying to force the government to babysit your children because you can't take care of them is not our job. It's not the government's job. Now they're going to be going after Twitter. That's happening tomorrow. The special interest groups that are going after Twitter, who could that be? The High Court is scheduled to hear arguments in Twitter v. Tanma, and the case examines whether internet firms should be liable under a federal anti-terrorism law when they fail to purge terrorist content from their site. The Tamna case involves family relatives of Jordanian citizen killed in a 2017 ISIS terrorist attack in Istanbul. The family sued Twitter, claiming it failed to remove ISIS propaganda on its platform. Do you think these people are really behind this? Or is there special interest groups behind this? The Supreme Court's decisions will lay the foundations for a new and different internet, and it almost certainly will be worse than the internet we have today. Eric Goldman, a law professor and co-director of the High Tech Law Institute at Santa Clara University School of Law, told IBD, "I'm very nervous about the internet's future. We should all be. The moment you start controlling this, the moment you start forcing these tech companies to babysit you, it'll stop people from commenting what they want, sharing what they want." Now, I said that these laws are going to be used to control free speech, but it says that they're only going to be controlling hate speech, Mike, not free speech. It's just for hate speech. Hate speech, violent speech, speech that sounds like terrorist attacks on people, right? Speech that's violence. How's that possible? That's an interesting one because the left is already hard at work at that. The way they work is by redefining what violent speech is, by redefining what harassment is, by finagling the definition of hate speech in order to get it reclassified and then abide by these new laws that they're trying to create. You might be thinking I'm crazy, huh? Well, let's go ahead and watch a couple of videos here.
Being chill with my pronouns, you allowed me to be here and to have this conversation. Without that, I would have to face a level of violence in my head that makes it hard for me to have the conversation. I've done it before because I like to have tricky conversations, but it's the sort of feeling where I come out of that conversation and I get a sinking feeling in my gut and I feel like by being chill with my pronouns, you allowed me to be here and to have this conversation. Without that, I would have to face a level of violence in my head.
Now, listen to his words. By being chill, you allow me to be here and have this conversation. Now, if you weren't chill, I'd have to face a level of violence in my head. A level of violence in my head. So at these liberal universities, they are hard at work trying to indoctrinate these kids into redefining what violence is. And words are violence is a typical trope. So if words are violence, words are hate speech. But what words? What words are violence? Well, it's the words that offend me. It's all just vague and nonsensical. It's basically whatever I want it to be. Violence is whatever I want it to be. Harassment is whatever I want it to be. Hate speech is whatever I want it to be. And because of that, if we can get the Supreme Court to rule on these companies regulating violence and hate speech, which on the surface sounds good, everybody wants to regulate violence and hate speech. Once you do that, then they start inserting all this nonsense.
Do you think that anti-immigrant rhetoric is violent free speech?
Yes, because of the
You think that speech is violence?
No, I think that
That's what that sign says.
the conversation that you're having is oppressive. And
So
it
I am oppressing
contributes-
people by what I'm doing. So I am exerting violence on people by my speech. That's what the sign says, and that's what you just said.
It contributes to
And the
racism.
protester is saying that's exactly what I'm doing, and she's saying that's exactly what her sign means. So that means that you, a faculty member at an American public university, paid for by taxpayer dollars, are conflating speech with violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Speech can be violent. What you are saying contributes
There
to
you go.
systemic racism.
There you go. Speech can be violence. Now, that's weird because I've never been bashed in the back of the head by words before. I've never been stabbed by words before. It seems like some new way of redefining language so that you can control it. These people will freely admit to it. Words are violence. This isn't about stopping violence. This isn't about stopping terrorism. It's about controlling you. It's about controlling you. The First Amendment actually protects hate speech. That's the whole purpose of it. If everybody spoke in favor of each other and everything everyone said was good and everyone liked everything everyone said, you wouldn't need free speech protection. You wouldn't need that. Everybody would love hearing everyone else speak. The point of free speech is to protect speech you don't want to hear. That's the fucking point.
How does protecting Milo Yiannopoulos' right to engage in what I personally actually do think is fairly hateful speech, how does that protect my rights to free speech?
Well, the question is, who's the censor? So if you determine that someone has the right of determining what is hate speech and what is not hate speech, I believe you give a dangerous kind of authority to the government. And
there you go.
So someone that is going to censor Milo's right to engage in what we call hate speech today might call hate speech tomorrow something that is, for example, critical of Roy Moore. Mm-hmm. Or critical of the kind of bigotry that you see in some of our far right groups today.
So the danger is that one person's hate speech might be another person's valid criticism of somebody else.
Bingo, bingo, bongo, winner, winner, chicken dinner, buddy. What is valid criticism to me may be hate speech to you because you've determined that your absurd lunatic idea of how you want to be addressed is the right way, and anyone who doesn't address you in that way is committing violence against you.
And since it's very hard to make the distinction, therefore we have to say, even when we think that it looks like hate speech to us, we need to allow it to make sure we protect the right of the person who would have a valid criticism that others might think is hate speech.
That's exactly right.
All right, guys, if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you hated it, hit it twice. And by the way, subscribe to the channel and spread this video. Get people on board, because we don't want Section 230 stopped or repealed or modified. We need free speech on the internet. Otherwise, we will be destroying any kind of logical thought process. We'll pretty much stupefy future generations because, you know, the left.